In today's video, we're going to talk about financial abuse or financial control in marriage. So it's not a happy topic, but it's a really important one. And I'm going to take you down the road that I was on where I allowed my marriage to become a financially abusive one. So I hope you can learn some lessons from what I'm going to tell you. But before we get started, will you please subscribe to my channel? That's how these videos are going to reach more of the people who really need to hear this information. I'm Victoria McCooey. I'm a narcissist divorce coach, a motivational speaker, and the creator of the Reclaim Your Power system. I help people every day who are right where you are, stuck in a toxic marriage to a narcissistic spouse, or already engaged in a contentious divorce from one. All right, so let's talk about financial abuse. And it can be really humiliating or embarrassing to admit to other people that this is what's happening in your marriage. You may know that it is wrong and abusive, but it's gone too far and you've lost control over the situation. And that can be really humiliating. So I know I was right there. I was right where you are. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, do you have access to an account? The way people handle money now, I think this new generation is really positive. I see a lot of people who are just getting married for the first time, in their 20s and 30s. They're both earning incomes and they're setting up accounts, which I think is a really great way to start, where they each have their own account. And then they have a household account that they fund, they put money into, but they have their own separate accounts. That's great. And it's really great if you can start right out of the gate like that. So that wasn't the case with me. Even though I was always earning money, I was convinced right from the start that it was important for him to control all of the money, that it made more sense, and that he was so much smarter and wiser and better at business, and only one person could be in charge of the bills, and all the reasons. And I was a pleaser. I wanted to make him happy. If that made him happy, I was okay with it. I was very naive about this. So I was letting him control all the money, even mine. Fast forward down the road a few years, 3 children later, I have no account. I have no checking account of my own. This is a red flag for you. Do you have your own checking account, an account that you can draw money from or put money into, let alone that person knows about, but that you even have? So this is so important. I see a lot of my clients coming to me in exactly the place where I was, where they don't have an account of their own. They might be on a household account, but they have no place to put money where their spouse can't get to it. Okay, here's another one. Do you have access to the money that you earn? Seems like a crazy question, right? Of course, you would have access to the money that you earn. Not everybody does. And it got to the point in my marriage where, again, all of the money I earned went straight to him and went into an account that I didn't have access to. I was doled out money as he saw fit, even the money I earned. All right, this is not okay. You need to have control over the money you earn. Again, the best way to do that is to have a family account that you can fund, but you have your own separate money in your own separate account. And let me tell you one more story about when I didn't have access to the money that I was earning. I knew how crazy that was. I knew that it was ridiculous and I had to change it. But when you're so far into it that way, the repercussions are so severe that the narcissist can bully you out of anything. The other types of abuse that come from you even suggesting that you change that dynamic are too big, seemingly, in that moment and where you are emotionally, to do it, right? You have to pick your battles. Like, you're just trying to get through the day. changing taking control of your money away from the narcissist, that is not an easy task. And they're going to make it so hard. So, feel like I'm embarrassed to say this, or I'm embarrassed to even tell you what's going on. I get it. I know how that happens. Of course you know that it's wrong. Of course you know that you need to change it. It's not that easy to change. It's a really, really hard thing to do because this person is very abusive. And what about access to your own line of credit? Do you have any credit? So a lot of times it's a manipulation. The narcissist has gotten you to this point where you don't have access to your own money and you don't have any credit history. You don't have money in your own name. So you can't go get a credit card. You can't go get a line of credit. You don't have access to anything. And that's probably where they want you so that they can control everything about you. You can't go out and get money to do anything that they don't want you to do. So it's so important for you to figure out how to get a line of credit in your name. So there was a time in my own marriage where I didn't even know how much debt had been taken out in my name. My spouse had just taken every advantage of signing my name to things or coercing me into signing things. There were things in my name that I didn't know existed. So my credit was ruined. There was a long period of time where I was having to rebuild it after our divorce. It was a long, long road. So this is another aspect of financial abuse, either not giving you access to credit or sabotaging your credit by using that. So let me tell you a story of how I first tried to start getting control of the money I earned. It's a crazy story because it just sounds so ridiculous now. It seems like that was another person. It was another life. There is no way anything like that could happen to me now. And this can be you too. You can get this strong. You can recover. You can build yourself back, reinvent yourself to the point where that kind of thing could never happen to me. I'm way too strong, way too wise, way too different from that person who was so abused and taken advantage of financially. So at that time, I realized I had to steal my money that I earned away from him. So when I knew a check was coming in the mail for me, it was, a project I had done. I was a freelance writer. I had to get to the post office where we got our mail before he did, without him knowing it. It sounds crazy, right? To steal the money that was coming to me. So I did. I managed to do it. I remember having the check in my hands in the house, and I had to hide it from him before I could get to a bank, right, to cash it. So I was looking at my hands literally shaking. I was so fearful of this person, so fearful of the repercussions from my holding the check made out to me and mailed to me. I was scared to death. So I get it. I know what that feels like. Fast forward to when I actually went to a bank that we didn't bank at, opened an account that he didn't know about, put the check into the account. It's a long time ago. It took days for checks to clear. I thought I was almost home free, right? I was almost over the hump where I was going to actually have access to money that he wouldn't know about. And the bank sent a letter to our post office box. That was my stupidity because I didn't have a coach telling me otherwise. I gave the bank our address, and I should have had a different post office box set up by that, right? All these things, all these precautions you're going to have to take. So he got that letter showing that I'd made a deposit that hadn't yet cleared, and there was hell to pay. Of course, it would have happened at some point, but that's when it happened. But now he knows. Now he knows that the money's coming, and I still didn't have access to it. So when the check should have cleared days later, it didn't. Instead, I got a letter claiming that the funds were frozen. It was like $6,000. It was a lot of money to me back then. $6,000 was frozen because there was a lien against my name that I didn't even know about because he had taken a cell phone out, used my name, my information, and then didn't pay. I had no idea. None of this, had no idea this had been done. So there was this lien, and the money was taken to pay that lien. So nobody got access to that money. And you know what his takeaway from that was? Proved his point. I was so stupid that I couldn't handle money. That never would have happened if he had had access to the money. No responsibility. This is a narcissist, right? This is somebody who has real narcissistic tendencies. It's like, he's right, I'm wrong, I'm stupid, he's smart. He had done something illegal, again, to me, taken things, other things that I found out later, all in my name that I didn't know about, but I'm the stupid one for not knowing. So yeah, these are all the tales of what financial abuse looks like. Also, make sure you have access to all the information about your family's household accounts and any business things that you might be responsible for, anything like that, and tax returns. Make sure you are involved in the tax returns. And unfortunately, that's not even enough, because here's another story from my financially abusive marriage. As I said, I was a freelance writer, so I didn't have a W-2. I just would keep receipts and accountings of everything. My ex-husband owned properties, and it was a very difficult or complex tax return because there were buildings and there was depreciation and amortization and all kinds of things that admittedly I didn't understand. And I shouldn't have trusted, but I trusted that his accountant, who he'd been using from way before I was around, knew how to handle his building taxes. So our family, our personal taxes were all combined with this. So every year at tax time, he would ask me for all of my information. I would hand over all of my receipts and accounting of what I made, what I spent, all the things, hand it over. He would go to his accountant. They would come back. It was this thick. I would look through it, but it was like way beyond me, all of these things. But I checked the part that was pertained to me, and it all looked right. And I saw what our taxes were, and I would sign it and hand it back over to him, and we're done, right? They were never being filed. Years and years and years of taxes, never filed. I trustingly signed my name, handed them over, and they weren't filed. So it's not enough. It's never enough. You have to be so close to everything. When we were divorcing and all of this came out, I was now on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes that we owed as a couple. And one day I got a knock at the door from someone from the IRS claiming that my husband had filed what's called an innocent spouse clause against me, saying that I was this mastermind who'd orchestrated this whole tax evasion system of not paying taxes, and he was just the innocent bystander in all of this and should not be held responsible. So, of course, I dug myself out of that, but this is financial abuse. All right, so does any of this sound familiar? Are you worried about any of these things happening in your own marriage? Because if you would like some help, you can book a call with me. I'll put a link in the description below where you can get on my calendar. Did you find this information helpful? I hope you did. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I've linked a couple of other videos here that I think you might also like, so I hope I see you in the next video.